call this meeting to order. Thank you all very much for being here. Much appreciated. I know we have John coming on soon. I'm sure he'll join us momentarily. First of all, has everybody gotten the minutes from the August 5th meeting? Was there any discussion or comments on the minutes? No? Okay, then can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Ruth, pick who you'd like. And second? Yeah, okay. Second. Great. Okay, we have a few people not on camera, so I'm just going to call.
Did we just have a vote?
No, I'm about to.
You're doing, okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Yep, so I'll go in the order that I see the screens. I just need a verbal yay or nay. Deborah?
Yay.
Steve?
Aye.
Jane? Jane? Oh,
There you go.
okay. Mark?
Yes.
Jen McGonigal?
Yay.
Beth?
Yes.
Cato?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
I'm in
I
the
can.
car.
Yep, Ramon?
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I.
Okay, and Jan?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, moving on, we've got a tight agenda and I know we're gonna lose Deborah right at 6, so that's why I'm clipping along here. Updates from the town. Beth, how's it going from your perspective on reopening?
You know, I think there's a little more positivity. We've seen a significant jump in traffic in the last week that it's been cooler. Obviously, there was a lot of people downtown and in West Concord on Saturday for the sidewalk sales, and we know that the picnic tables went really well as well. They had 10 families painting the canvases to be on the picnic tables throughout town. So the last 3 days in the visitor center, we've been over 40 people each day. We had tours running with 10 people 2 out of the 3 days. And that's a big jump. Like there's a lot of days when it was really hot, we had no tour running. So, and mostly locals taking the tours. Today was 2 moms from Groton with little kids that have studied the Revolutionary War. And we are starting to reach out to the schools to see if that's something we can put out there to all the parents that might have half day and have them come and take a tour in the afternoon, kind of thing. So I've seen an uptick. I've been in a lot of the shops in the last few weeks.
Some puzzle pieces, Trevor. I'd love to finish that puzzle. It's really hard.
Hey, Gail, can we ask you to mute your phone, please?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you for telling me.
No problem.
So I did, as Jen sort of mentioned, we had a call this morning to sort of look at the sidewalk sale, had invited everybody to either send email comments or join the call. I got, I don't know, 15 different comments, the majority from West Concord, just dittoing what Jen said about it being successful and a nice traffic and people socially distant, wearing masks, being very responsive shoppers. Most Concord Center businesses have said they've also had success. It certainly brought people in. We're continuing to see a mix of local, regional, and even further away. We've had some families that are just coming to the East Coast and staying for a couple weeks. So they're bringing their COVID negative tests and they're showing them, and they're being really responsible travelers. And that's a really nice thing to see. And then we're talking about ways to do future sidewalk sales and future art projects. One of the art projects suggested this morning and a couple times before is to paint the cement girders. So that's something that we may be able to do. We own the cement barriers. Another way to bring public art into the community. We've had really great response to the movies in terms of a community engagement. We're seeing really good feedback. I got a lot of emails back in response to a thank you that I sent out. People were really happy to have something to do with their families. That was relaxing and something fun to sort of take their minds off this crisis that we're in the middle of. So anything we can do to sort of bolster morale for the town does seem to be having an impact. and the people that come in to turn their Concord Solstice things in, they're just gushing about shopping. I sent a list out the other day. We counted how many different businesses were represented on the squares. It was 92 businesses, different businesses
Wow.
were represented. So everything from your local Dunkin' Donuts to Crosby's Market, hardware store, jewelers, nail salon, we were just talking about. I was amazed at how many different businesses. I had one of my staff go through each and every card and count them up. So I think that's a testament to Concord Together, and the town itself really wanting to keep its own self alive and like really wanting to shop local and support those local places. So I'm feeling a little more positive this week because people coming in are being really positive. So I hope that trend continues. Obviously, things can change on a dime and probably will, but I'm going to take the optimism whenever we can. So.
How did the Chill Wagon do at the second movie?
Oh, he was fun. It was great. He had a small line the whole time. So we made out 3 or 4 spots for markers, and he had a pretty good clip. I think he was pleased. I asked him, and he didn't give me any numbers, but he said, anytime I can get out and make people happy is a win for me. So ice cream makes people happy. The kids were certainly happy. My kids were certainly happy. So that was fun. So, and really pretty easy to pull off. So there is definitely discussion about a third movie. And we're going to hopefully be able to pull that off.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much, Beth. Really appreciate that.
It was, it was nice to add a new twist to the movie.
Funny.
Soft-serve ice cream, come on.
Clever. Yeah. Clever.
So, building on Beth's optimism, I don't know what the weather's like in Concord right now, but it's about to start pouring there, FYI.
I know.
It was sunny when it left.
Yeah, look at that.
I'm sitting outside and I'm thinking we might be moving this party inside.
Yeah, no, I live in Westford, and wicked storm just ripped right through here. So good luck to that.
Okay, good to know. So
which is one of the reasons why I was late was I was, quite frankly, putting down my patio umbrella. So I had to run down and do that.
It's a really good idea, actually. I'm going to text my husband while we're... Even while we're on the phone, do you have any updates on recommendations that have come out of this committee? Is there anything new to add, or?
So the board did get an opinion from council on Henry Dane's proposal, and that has triggered, and basically he just didn't see it the same way Henry did, but that triggered a discussion with council and I about, well, what could we do then? And so we've drafted some language about creating a program. Unfortunately, the conversation now has turned to when we need a town meeting vote is really the short of it. And when could we do that? And so I unfortunately, because of the way our annual town meeting is unfolded, we've modified the warrant in terms of dropping things off to shorten the meeting or consolidating in terms of the consent agenda, but not reopening it for new articles. And so it may require a special town meeting. And so that's something we have to talk to. I've talked to the select board and the moderator about, but we do have, it's a very brief draft language that I think is based on what some other communities have done. And so we're going to try and find a way to try and plug that in. I don't know if Beth announced it, but CMLP does have a rebate program now up to 50% up to $1,000 for electric outdoor heaters. So if you're going to continue, even if you're going to think you're going to have sidewalk sales in the fall, or if you have a restaurant, you're going to do outdoor dining, you don't have to have an electric one, but we talked here, it's better than the fossil fuel, propane alternatives. And like I said, it's a 50% rebate up to 1,000. So that's live. There's a link. I think Jennifer and John, I think I shared it with you guys.
Yeah, and I gave it to Jane and the business partnership today to send out.
Yeah, I had already sent it to all the restaurants because I figured they were the most, most viable customers for that. So that is live. And the other thing is we're having some internal discussion in our own kind of feedback loop about the barriers and the parking versus street closures and things like that. This more conversation needs to happen. Is there a way we can economize that level of effort? It's a couple of days of CPW's time where other work gets deferred. We've been happy to do it. I've been at both of them. They've both been very successful, great positive feedback. The positive feedback outnumbers the complaints like 7 or 8 to 1, and that's in this line of work, that's a very high margin. So I am pleased with that, and I did see, and just the eye test, I saw a lot of activity. I agree with Beth. I think people were just glad to get out. So I think the board is still trying to find ways to be supportive. I think we've been looking at it. We have actually approved a few outdoor entertainment applications, and we looked at that as an extension of the outdoor dining. So if you already have outdoor dining approved, you could add on outdoor really acoustic entertainment. But we've been trying to just crank this stuff out as we go.
So Stephen, I'm just a little concerned if we're not able to do anything with town meeting this year. The COVID pandemic isn't going to wait for the spring.
Right.
So is there anything that this committee can do to support you or help you try to get something with a little meat on its bones? I know we were just chit-chatting before we opened the meeting, but it's getting worse quickly for a lot of people. And I'm just worried that if we don't do something with some real significance soon, the damage to the town is going to be pretty significant.
I agree. The timelines for town meetings are, as you know, set by statute, and I'm not throwing that out as kind of like a smokescreen or a blockade. We've got a timeline that I asked for to do a special within the annual. And if the moderator is listening to this, she's gonna be mad that I have not reached out to her to ask her about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's just in its infancy stages, the concept. So I don't know that we'll be able to make September 13th with the statutory timelines, but I think I would certainly recommend to the board that it's worth having a separate meeting, because I don't think we wouldn't need to plan for 500 person meeting. If we got 50 people to show up to let us do this, I think that would be perfect. We just, to be honest with you, the conversation has been focused on the annual town meeting, and so that's this would be somewhat of a grenade in the middle of that conversation. So I'm trying to pick the spot, but I hear you loud and clear. I know the time sensitivity of it, and it's just, as I've said before, there are certain things that can be waived and certain things that can't, and the town meeting timelines it's a tough one.
Okay.
But we will push it for sure.
Let John and I know what we can do.
Sure.
All right, because go ahead, John.
I had one more comment on the select board meeting. I did watch the discussion of Henry's proposal, and my sense was that Henry had one more request, which is he wanted to talk to town councils just to see where the differences in opinion were. You may find that you'll actually start, you'll be getting fewer calls from him in the future if they can have that call, and Henry can understand kind of where his reasoning isn't right. Because otherwise, I'm afraid that he's just going to keep hammering this, and it may be better if they could just have that conversation. So I don't know if you authorize that or if you can, but just my suggestion would be if that could happen, then I think that it'll either allow things to move forward, or it'll conclusively bring it to a halt. Because I think this is not something that's worth well, at this point I think it's hard to. I totally get that the machinery of town meeting is moving. There's already a lot of work being done to streamline things. We certainly can't add more to it. And I also don't think there's probably much appetite to hold a special town meeting, because that in and of itself is a big effort. So the most frictionless path forward may be just for those guys to have that conversation directly and then see where it goes.
Well, I don't think town council is going to change his opinion. I can ask council.
I'm not saying he change his opinion. I'm just saying he could point out to Henry where Henry's flaws and reasoning are.
I mean, I don't know that, and I don't, I say with all due respect, that's usually a precursor for something that is very respectful, but we usually don't use town council to satisfy an individual resident's concerns. And so John, I hear you loud and clear. I know Henry's put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into his proposal. Mina put as much thought and effort into his, or town council put as much thought and effort into their analysis of it. So I guess to answer your question, Jennifer and John, what could you do? The way the language is currently constructed is going to be kind of an authorization to the town manager to develop a business assistance program for businesses impacted by COVID-19, subject to terms and conditions and restrictions developed by the select board. I think as a group, if you could look at like how would we structure the program? What really works for businesses? You know, what are the thresholds? How do we protect taxpayers, but how do we make sure that this is streamlined, and who should get it? And not, you know, so it's not going to be carte blanche, as you know, but it's going to be certain types of businesses with certain characteristics. If maybe as a group we can start working on that, and even without the article, define that. So if we do have a special town meeting, or you know, if we do this, when people say, well, how's this going to work? We can say, well, this is how it would work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cato's gonna be very dizzy.
I know I am now.
Please reflect that in the minutes, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you very much, Stephen, for that update. Okay, so kind of turning our attention for a moment to our public sector collaborative arm, Concord Together. We have seen some nice updates coming out of that. John, should we do the survey first and then the grants program update, or other way around?
Sure.
Okay.
Happy to do the survey first. Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, can you turn the controls over to John so he can share his, are you going to share some of the slides with us, or?
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy, can you allow John to share his screen?
Yep, he should be able to, John, let me know if you can, but you should be able to just go ahead on the middle of the screen, the bottom, and just click share
Got
screen.
it. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm going to minimize your faces on my screen. So we launched the survey last week, and I waited as long as possible to get as many responses as we could before distributing it today. So I apologize for sending it out to everybody what probably felt like last minute, but again, wanted to have as many responses in as we could. And Jeremy, I don't know if you had a chance to, but Jeremy was going to be posting this to the website to be sure that everyone in the public has equal access to the same results. I don't know how many more folks will come into the survey, but at this point we have about 38 responses, which is pretty good actually. I'm not going to go through every slide, but I'll kind of hit some of the highlights here. If I can make my, there we go, my slides change. Just first headline is we had a good diversity of businesses. We had retailers, we've got food service, and for the first time we had 4 commercial real estate companies. We were trying to get a little more perspective from the landlords in this survey, and we actually created a special section for landlords. So it was good to see a broad mix of businesses respond. We asked a few questions about the impact that all the efforts we're making are having on businesses. We asked, you know, have you applied for one of the community chest grants at this point? We asked whether all the efforts of the town, the chamber, Concord Together, et cetera, are having an impact. And the headline here is that 44% say they are feeling the impact, that they believe it's helped their businesses. So that's good news. 21% said not that it hadn't made a difference yet, and 12 weren't sure. But I think overall that's a pretty good result at this point. We asked specifically about the Summer Solstice program, and 34% said it had helped their business, which is good. And again, I apologize for going quickly here, but I want to get to some of the highlights. One of the questions we had was about communication, and we wanted to understand the best way to communicate with the business community, because there's so much communication going on. And so we asked what the preferred channel of communication is, and what you see from this slide is that email is absolutely the preferred method by which they would like to be communicated with. So that's good to know. Okay, the next 5 slides really I think are some of the core questions from the survey. We asked overall, how is your business trending since the reopening? What you see here is that in the first column, 5 businesses or 13% said things are trending much better. 40% said marginally better. About 32% have seen no material change, but things are stable. And for about 16% of the businesses, 6 of the respondents, things are getting worse or much worse. So overall, this seems, I think, positive. We also tried to get a sense as to how things are trending since, you know, from a numerical standpoint, you know, since the reopening in April. And so the most recent month of July, this was a little concerning. 40% said that their business was down over April. And given the fact that we were pretty much closed in April, it was disappointing to see that 40% are down from April. I haven't had time to go through and try to digest or kind of dissect to understand which types of businesses are down, but I think we will be able to do that from the data.
Hey, John, before
26
we move on.
Yeah.
Isn't slide number 7 and slide number 8?
Yeah, they don't agree.
Aren't they completely contrary?
Yeah.
Well, I think my assessment, Mark, I think you're right. I think the 7 may be a little more like, how's it feel? It's doing a little better. But then this shows that, if you take the actual month, it's down. I don't know if that may be because July is a summer month and July tends to be a little slower than June for a lot of businesses in Concord anyway. So maybe they're not putting as much stock in things being down July over April. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'll just mention sort of a common theme for me is that I think there is a disconnect between people wanting things to get better and people feeling good with, about certain things, and the financial health of some of our core small businesses. So I still am pounding the drum on trying to educate and inform the public to make sure that that disconnect is addressed and that people understand how important it is to shop locally and to invest in Concord. And I'm glad people are feeling better, but it does concern me that, 40% indicate that business is worse now than previously.
Right. I agree. On 9, we asked the question, how much does your business need to improve to reach a sustainable level of profit? So really, we want to make sure that everyone is at a point where they can survive. And this was how we worded the question. Only 21% are there today. So that's concerning. 24% say they need to grow between 10 and 25% to get to that place. And a little over 30% have got to grow 20 to 50% to get to that place. 16% need to grow more than 50% to get to that place. So, and then you got 3 of the respondents who said they're not sure they're ever going to get there. So this, I think, reinforces what we saw in the prior slide, which is that people aren't really sure. We're going to need to see a big increase in the level of business to get to a place of sustainability. At the end of the day, that's what we want. That's where we want businesses to get. So that's a challenge. And this one too, not quite sure how to read this one, but it definitely has some points of concern. How close are you to going out of business during the crisis, due to the crisis? 4 say, I've already decided to close my business or retire early.
Oh, wow.
Because the survey is anonymous, I would like to think those are the 4 that have already gone out, but I think not. So that suggests that there will be 4 more businesses that have already made that decision. 1 is very close to having to close. And then the largest number, 16, say they're okay for now, but worried about the future. So this all kind of reinforces the urgency. And this is, I think, why we're pushing so hard. Yes.
I have a quick question. This is Jen. So the interesting thing on that for me is between the I'm okay for now, but worried about the future, and I have the resources to keep going. I would technically say I'm fine and we have the resources to keep going, but it doesn't mean I definitely want to keep putting resources in if I had to. So I didn't answer. For some reason, I didn't get the survey. So I didn't do this. I did it 10 minutes ago, but I would have said, I think I said, I'm okay for now, but worried about the future. So I have the resources, but I'm also worried what's going to happen if we shut down, and I'm also still trying to figure out, with only having 7 people in the store at a time, when I usually at Christmas would have 25, how that's going to work. So I just wanted to point out that was a little confusing to me. I'm not sure. Like, I could have said yes to either one of those.
Right.
And I would suspect that those who preferred not to answer are probably not doing very well. They might not want to say out loud that they're, you know what I mean?
I think questions like this, it would be good for us to ask these on a regular basis so we can at least see, are things improving? Or how are they changing over time? But I think you're right, Jen. That is a question where we could fine tune that. Yeah.
And one more question, one more thing. I think it was slide 7. You don't need to go back, but the one on like, how are you doing since reopening and what do you need to get there? So I wasn't totally sure, meaning like we are definitely getting business, but we are still, if you look at the year, down dramatically. And I was up about 20% for the year as we closed. So are you looking at getting back? Are you looking at the number of just getting back to where you were last year or where you were when you closed?
Right.
So I can play with either. It looks like I'm down about 25% for the year, which to me isn't that bad considering what we've gone through.
Right.
And I don't have the staff expenditure that I had. So
right.
Anyway, I'm just putting that out there that I wasn't totally sure, but that might just be me being very specific.
But I think the point you made that I think is most powerful is that we don't know how long people will be willing to continue to fund or continue to experience subpar results before they decide it's just not worth it, right? It's a hard issue to get at, but I think that's the nub of the question, right? You may have a year left in your lease. You say, okay, I'll grind it out for another year. But unless things improve dramatically, why continue?
Well, and I was able to renegotiate a bit. My lease is up February 1st and I have to give notice by November 30th. And if I don't give notice, I've got another 3 years. And we renegotiated so I can have another year because I did talk to him and I said, listen, I'm in this. I want to be in this. I'm investing in a website, but I will tell you, I don't feel comfortable signing 3 years right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, so I know. And we could, but then it's with kids home from school and like, So, but we don't plan on going anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, good. I hope you don't. Let me keep moving here. Unless anyone else, any other questions on the slides so far?
And John, we can send this out to folks too. We have an abbreviated time available today, so.
Okay, let me keep going. I'm going to
John, just quick, just not a question, but a comment. Some of us have been open the whole time, and I think there needs to be inclusion of that in the survey too. I mean, I know Vero Farm has been open the whole time. We've been open the whole time. So we're a whole different category, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a good point. You know how they say you get what you pay for? We didn't pay a whole lot to pay this volunteer to put the survey together. In all seriousness, if there's a marketing research scientist in the community, we might be well served by recruiting somebody to help us put together a survey program that we could run for the next year or two. I think this is.
Sorry, Joe. I was going to comment. I don't know how many slides you have left because I have a comment that I was going to make, decide not to, and then Deborah's comment made me say, geez, maybe I should. But if you have a number of slides left, I can hold off because I think it's a general comment.
If it's about it, let me just. I'll spend 2 more minutes and then then we'll open it for questions on the survey and the survey process. We did ask what people are hearing from customers, and I think it's worth reading through these things. But safety is a huge theme. People really want to be sure that things are safe. There were a number of comments saying that customers recognize the effort that's being made, but I think to the extent that we can continue to communicate that Concord is a safe place to come, a safe place to do business, that will be really helpful. Last bit I wanted to comment on, and again, you've all got this by email, is we had questions for the first time that were targeted at commercial real estate owners and managers. There were 4 respondents who identified themselves as such, and yet anybody could answer these questions. And so the data is a little hard to interpret for that reason. My takeaway is that we have respondents who have both retail, office, and industrial space. That there have been a fair number of tenants who've asked for financial assistance of one form or another. This was really the one positive thing, that everyone reported that conversations with their tenants have been collaborative and constructive. So I was not surprised by that, but of course, pleased to see that. this is one where the data is a little funny. I got to spend a little time analyzing it. I almost didn't include this slide, but have any of your tenants closed during the pandemic with no plans to reopen? 31 said yes, but there were only 4 commercial real estate owners who responded to the survey. So I'm not sure. I think a lot of other people might have interpreted this as, do you know someone who's closed or something like that? So I'm not going to spend any more time on these landlord slides, but we got to spend a little more time dissecting them.
It makes
again,
sense in the future to send a landlord survey out separately.
a separate one.
Yeah, because
Agreed.
we have a list of folks we can reach out to. So
Right. And I think we might also get a better response that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen, you had a question.
Well, not so much a question as a comment in that I think, I disagree with the notion, John, that you got what you pay for. I think that you've gotten an exceptional snapshot, and that's all we're doing, just like the last survey. So I don't, it may be because I've been in public policy for, longer than I've been, almost as long as I've been alive. I have a little more, not say familiarity, but I get, statistics and surveys and both their positives and their negatives. And I look for certain, keys to certain takeaways that may not be what the intended takeaway is. I think this read to me very much like a consumer confidence survey, except in reverse, a retailer confidence survey. And as you know, consumer confidence is something you talk about every single presidential, and you're going to be hearing those 2 words a lot between now and November. And so I think, and the other part of this is the reason why the snapshot is so vital is that's all we've got right now. If someone's got the crystal ball that says this is what this is going to look like in 6 months, God bless them, but I certainly don't have it. And so I think this is really exceptionally good information. Is it good data? It's a relatively small sample size, but it's where people's heads are at right now. And that's important because I may be completely misreading this, but I feel like if we can get 10 to 15% growth in customers from baseline, from basically where we are now, the metrics, the needle really moves for more than half of the local businesses. And to me, that's like, well, that's not great. That's not going to save everybody, but geez, 10 to 15%. How can we focus on just doing that and alter the outcome for a lot of people? That was my take. I may be totally misreading this, but that's those slides, and kind of, you went fast, but there was a couple of slides where I'm like, geez, if we just grew a little bit and focused on growing, I say a little bit, not 100%, but 10 to 15%, we could really maybe make a big difference for a large number of businesses. So that's where I think that this is, in terms of how can this affect decision-making and public policy. It's like, let's measure the problem that can, achieve great results quickly.
I think it certainly shows that, the programs we're doing are having an impact. They're not solving the whole problem, but they are helping. Jane, you had a comment?
Can you hear me?
Barely.
I started with new earplugs today, so I don't know if can you hear me?
Barely. Jane, if you click on where it has the muting, there's a little arrow bar and you can select your microphone there. So maybe your microphone's in a different place.
Yeah, all right. I'll go back to it later then.
Okay. Yes, Mark.
What's the group's feeling on slide number 23? And that is, again, if there are only 4 landlords, I'm not sure what it means, but clearly 76% of the people tend to apply for tax abatements. And my reading of the tea leaves there are people are making the assessment that, the perceived value of what they're offering or is not probably the same as the value they attributed to it due to poor performance. So from a landlord perspective, it's a no-brainer. It's consistent with, I think. I'm just shocked that 76% of the people who responded are going to apply for abatements. I don't know if they're talking about commercial, residential, but clearly 23 is an interesting slide to sort of drill down further from my perspective.
That may be something for the assessor to look into if they'd like to get a sense as to what people are really thinking. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I want to keep things cruising along here, just because we've got a lot to cover.
Jennifer, can you hear me now?
Yes, Jane.
Okay. I just want to respond to Stephen's comments. I had received some information from RAM this morning, some survey results that they had undertaken, or the survey they had conducted, and they tallied the results. It was very significant that most of the retailers thought that they would be able to do a lot better over the next couple of months by getting customers into the stores.
I can't hear.
Yeah, Jane, we can barely hear you. Can you lean into your microphone?
I don't know why it's not working. I'll send you an email about it.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so on to something a little positive. First of all, Beth, do you have any update on the community block grant?
No, unfortunately, we have not gotten an update. And Marcia's out on vacation, but Stephen would probably get notified as well from the town of Ashland as soon as it's released. The last I heard,
Kind
they
of
said
baloney. Got approved a long time ago, didn't it?
it did, and apparently there was some regulation that they didn't think about was going to come into play, and unfortunately, I have every confidence we're going to get it, but a timeline is just something we're unfortunately not able to predict. Last we heard, it was end of August, early September, which we are quickly approaching.
A whole nother rent cycle for people. All right. Well, Concord Together has some positive news. You probably saw there was an article in last week's paper really calling out to the community to try to close the gap for an important fundraising goal. Beth did an awesome job of letting all of the people going to the movie know about the Concord Together Business Fund. He's not on the call today, but I have to give a huge shout out to Jerry Wedge from the Umbrella, who was really moved by the efforts of this committee and of the Concord Together group. And he made a direct appeal out to his whole donor database to ask people to step up and help. His feeling was that the community had really helped the Umbrella early on in the pandemic, and they were grateful and they wanted to kind of push that forward. And so Jennifer from Community Chest told me that over the weekend, a donor who is anonymous walked in her office and asked what was required to meet our goal and dropped off a check for $25,000. And then all the other efforts also brought in another $7,000 or $8,000. And then John, I think you have some news you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, so we received another extraordinarily generous gift from a Concord family. Neil and Anna Rasmussen, who many of you know, challenged us to raise $100,000 for the Concord Together Fund. And they said that if we were able to pull that off, that they would match it dollar for dollar. And so I'm happy to say that the Rasmussens will be donating $100,000 to the fund. So that brings the total capability of the fund up to $200,000, which is a very big number. And we're going to be able to help a lot of businesses with those funds. And the thing that I think is notable about this is that the Rasmussens have generally focused their philanthropy in Concord on historical and cultural institutions. I mean, if you look around town, there are very few institutions that have not been touched by them at one time or another. And so beyond its sheer generosity, I think it goes to reinforce the idea that the local businesses play a central role in the community and they really are worth saving. In Anna's words, they consider the villages in town and Concord Center in particular to be part of our cultural heritage. I mean, they really view Concord Center as part of the cultural heritage of the town. And that is actually something that I think a lot of us feel. And but again, it was nice to have that kind of external validation. And secondly, I think that it underscores the severity of what all these businesses are facing. You know, for a family like the Rasmussens who have not traditionally made gifts to commercial enterprises, for them to recognize that these commercial businesses play a key part in the town, I think says a lot. And our hope is that others will be inspired by their gift and will join them. So the work is not done yet, but it was a gigantic step forward to receive that gift and now to have these funds to support even more businesses.
So the Concord Together Fund so far has already helped 21 businesses. But with these matching funds, they'll be able to help at least 50 more. So if everyone in this group could please spread the word to any of your fellow business owners that there are funds and they should apply. And then what we're really hoping is then when the community block grant does come in, that's another 200 and something thousand to help the micro businesses. So at least on that front, there's some real capital available now that can help people. Maybe those folks that are teetering on the edge, we can help them get through another month or two until things change. So that's some positive news, which is great. I just wanted to quickly share with people too a couple of ideas that have come out of the Concord Together brainstorms. The Summer Solstice Passport event was so successful and so well received that they are launching a new event right after the grand drawing tomorrow, which will be the Fall in Love with Concord Fall Foliage Passport that will start, and it's similar rules of engagement. You shop 10 businesses of any kind in Concord, get your stamps, turn them into the visitor center. There'll be drawings. We are encouraging, rather than asking the businesses to donate gift certificates, we're encouraging citizens, and I don't know if there's anything the town would like to do here too, to actually buy those gift cards so that we're not asking struggling businesses to be donating. But that initiative will be launched tomorrow. We are exploring a restaurant-focused program, and anyone who would like to give ideas. I know Ramon has been doing a lot of brainstorming and work around that, but we need something to really focus on the restaurants. They really need our help. And then Mark, you inspired us with your thought about investing in Concord and the importance of investing in Concord. So I'm hoping you guys can see this. Can you see this?
Oh.
Not the notice about restarting my computer. We can do that later. But this is a yard sign that we designed, and I'm going to be buying several hundred of these just out of pocket, and they'll be available at the visitor center for anyone who would like to pick one up and post them up around town, on your lawns around. Mark, I think you were spot on with it's not necessarily a save us type of thing. It's invest in our town. The stores, the restaurants, the businesses are a key part of our cultural heritage. And if we don't all get together on this, we don't have a town. So these will be available to anybody who would like to participate. And I think I can stop sharing now. Okay, great. Yeah, Mark.
So Jen, this is something I really feel passionate about, and again, it's sort of my beating the drum is to educating our fellow citizens. And so I'm wondering, we got a great Concord Together logo, and I know, for example, there are a number of retailers who don't have that in their store window. Do we have any ability to maybe make a 12 by 12 or maybe a 10 by 10 that literally you can sort of, that instead of Brian's or Deborah's or whatever, can stick in their store window? And again, I think my vision here, the goal really is to percolate conversation. What is the group doing? How can I help? Gee, I don't have to shop Amazon. I can shop locally. I'd love to, I don't want to be absurd about it, but I'd love to see buttons similar to I voted, to I shopped. I'd love to see lawn signs all over the place, for some period of time. I'd love to sort of stimulate conversation so that people can say, yeah, I know all about the grants. I've applied, and I don't know what the rally cry is. And I think the lawn signs are a great start, but I'm hoping we can also do sort of smaller signs that people can stick in their store windows. And I'm hoping people can have signs that they can stick in their cars.
Well, Mark, we did send the logos around to folks early on. I'm happy to send it to you if you want to make some buttons and hand them out. That's great. Or, send it far and wide. This is a license-free software that anybody can use. Absolutely. Jen?
Jennifer, if you can send it out again, that would be great because I don't remember getting it. And I'd love to
Absolutely.
make some posters for our window.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I could look into making masks. My goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had it right, talk about bringing up conversation. You could have a mask.
Yeah. Okay.
And Jen,
I also got a sheet. I got a sheet of stickers from Billy Crosby, which we could have them made up as well. I mean, I can drop these off at the visitor center, Beth, and people can come by and pick them up. But there's kind of stickers, small and large. So if we want to put them in the windows, those are great. And if someone wants to come up with a design, I'm happy to work with Billy Crosby to get them printed.
Great. Well,
Jen,
John, I'll send the logo to everybody on this call.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mark?
Just one quick question on the lawn size. Is that ship sailed, or is there an opportunity to comment on that?
You can absolutely comment on it. You want to, since that's a Concord Together thing, can you will just email me or?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And the only conversation I had is I'm just wondering, and since Stephen's on the phone, is it an opportunity to sort of put the Economic Vitality Committee on the sign, support, sort of a sponsor or a support group?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Beth's office that we could put on the sign? How can we put like 5 or 6 of the key groups, the chamber, the partnership, this group, Concord Together, and literally it's just one line so that people associate that sign with maybe those groups. And again, percolates the conversation, oh, what is that group doing? To just sort of sticker it a little bit.
Everybody, I'm sorry. I have to go. I've got another call.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks,
Bye.
Deborah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, from a design perspective, we want to be careful not to have a lawn sign too cluttered, but maybe it's worth looking at joint logos. Stephen, is there any place in the town budget that can help with any of this, or does it make sense to leave it just with Concord Together?
We can take a look at that.
Yeah.
See what we have to partner on that.
It's about $2 a sign, including the wire holder. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I mean, certainly we could look at ordering them and get at least tax exempt.
Okay.
But so the other thing I was going to say is, it may, town meeting is September 13th, Sunday at 1:00. It may be worth that. I don't know if we have to ask the superintendent or the moderator, but it may be worth saying, can we set up a place to either show them or hand them out? I know there's probably not a lot of that happens at town meeting because it looks like politicking, but maybe it's worth a conversation with the moderator, see if she'd be okay with that.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Mark, can you send me that image so I can share that with the moderator and see if she'd allow them to either be?
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay.
Sorry, Jen, this is Ramon carrying. Sorry, if I can just add one thing. What's the social media presence like with maybe it's a Concord Together thing, but in other towns I've talked to, there's a big initiative of using hashtags to be able to promote not just a specific group, but like everything else that goes part of it, and all the things that all the local businesses can use to along the lines of starting that conversation, like Mark was saying, to really get a conversation and everybody part of that. So just, maybe we can explore that as well.
Beth, do you have a running list of hashtags that you use?
We are using just Visit Concord, and we are using Flat Patriot 2020 for our Instagram. I can send those over to you guys. Those are really the only ones I use.
Yeah, we've been using just hashtag Concord Together.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe we could brainstorm some additional hashtags that like shop local, or I don't know.
I think it's worth exploring how to get more retailers and restaurants involved in that and using that when they do their posts.
Okay, that's a great idea, Ramon. Thank you. So now we're at the part of the agenda that's just the updates from committee members. So does anybody else have anything specific they wanted to bring to this committee to explore? Okay, great. So recommendations to consider at this point There was one other thing that did come out of the Concord Together brainstorming, which was the possibility of some sort of holiday market, like a Christmas market, except all holidays, as a way to use outdoor space, kind of like an expanded sidewalk sale. I know holiday stroll, we don't know what's going on with that yet, but you know, I just thought I'd propose it to this committee, the idea of some sort of holiday market that we could do something outside, you know, much like a Christmas market where you have kind of canvassed areas where the shops, the restaurants, the farms, et cetera, could have some presence. Might be too soon at this point to be looking at it. We kind of need to be watching the public health trends, but Stephen and Beth, what's your gut reaction to something like that?
So my gut reaction is that the health trends are just right. The outdoor gathering, which I think would include something like this, just got lowered. The thing about the sidewalk sale versus closing a street is a sidewalk sale is a series of outdoor events where I think you could argue that it's 50 people per sidewalk sale. You close the street, you make it one event. Are you stuck? And these are all somewhat interpretive. There's not a lot of, you know, case law, so to speak, on this. I love the idea of doing it. In fact, in my head, I was bouncing around town, like, where could we do one of these? But those outdoor guidance requirements are going to be, you know, we want to push the envelope, and I think we've done a good job of doing that responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
But not at the expense of having a hotspot unintended, you know, a very negative unintended consequence. That would be devastating to the business community, I think. So, you know, is there a drive-through? I say drive-through, bike-through, walk-through bazaar where you're not really standing still? I mean, I don't know. Just, is there another way to do it?
Yeah. Well, it's only August. We probably need to wait and see where we are come October. Yeah, it's an uncertain world we're in.
I do know that Recreation is working on some community events that are modified. So they used to have the Sleepy Hollow 5K and some other events. So I know as soon as they can take a breath after camp this week, that they're rolling right into after school and partnering with the schools on some other programs. So we've talked about things like a pumpkin walk, or they are going to try to do trunk or treat, because that's people's cars. You can be in the car, you know, like the way they did the egg hunt and things like that. So they are trying to come up with those too. So if people have ideas, you know, send them on. I think there's a lot of ways to do stuff that's socially distant without causing people to gather in one place for long periods of time. So the a holiday Christmas type fair did come up this morning as we reviewed the sidewalk sale, and much the same answer, that, you know, that kind of puts too many people in a certain square footage. And it's, you know, not moving, you know, like you're gathering there. So, but yes, I'd love to, but we gotta wait. And the holiday stroll,
could always,
you know, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, you could always do like a virtual sort of marketplace too. I mean, we're doing everything virtual with school and everything else. Why not set up like some sort of virtual Concord Together website or something like that, where every vendor can put on some goods, or maybe, you know, I don't know, brainstorm about something.
Yeah, that speaks to a much bigger problem that we're hoping to tackle, which is creating some sort of a virtual town shopping site. But we have to figure out, is that best done through this group or through the private initiative? Or can the town help subsidize a private initiative? John, do you want to speak to this at all?
I don't have a lot to add, except I think it probably is best attacked as a private initiative, is my gut. If the town could contribute, that'd be great. But I think that it is a fairly complex project that will take some time to roll out. But I do think it's you know, given that the holidays are approaching, it's time for us to think about that. So I think we should take this up and try to make some progress on it.
So can I throw out a suggestion? And honestly, this is it's going to sound completely stupid, and I'm aware. Even as I'm listening to it in my head, I'm like, this is really stupid.
You sell it so well, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm just.
Our expectations are very low.
Right. Because when you said that, my first thought was, man, QVC was way ahead of its time. But with online platforms and other ways to do that, is there just kind of a QVC style thing that we could potentially look to Minuteman Media Network
Yeah.
to support?
What about the Concord television channel? Is that what
Right.
you're talking about?
Yeah, Minuteman, yeah.
Could be cool.
It could be fun, yeah.
We could all dress up in like mid to late 90s attire and have really cheesy backgrounds.
You could have different guest people coming on, you know, prominent citizens to sell this or sell that. That'd be a lot of fun.
That
The
could
select
be
board could take turns.
So
That would actually be, that's a
I
good
told
idea.
you that was a bad idea.
No, that's a
the
neat
entire
idea.
90s and 80s, that was the bad idea.
That
The other,
could
was,
be
the other part was brilliant, by the way.
Yeah,
Just,
fair enough.
You
Yeah.
couldn't lose us.
Well, especially if you could live stream it.
Yeah,
on
that's what I'm
social
saying.
media.
Live stream it,
Totally.
and people could buy. Because the other, sorry, Steve. The other thought I had was like a Meacham's car auction. I love watching the car auctions, and if there was a way to display, people are online on an app or on the website of the business that's featured, purchasing the stuff.
That
Steve.
would be really neat.
Steve, go ahead. Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Steve.
Nope.
He's working. There you go.
Gee, somebody closed my mouth. I've been wanting to visit with John over some of these things for a while, but just as we were talking, I wonder if we could have a virtual market, Concord market online that would have logos or pictures or representations of all the different shops, and you could click on that spot there and go right to their website to order things.
Well,
I
we
think
do
that's what we
have
imagined
that.
for the first. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, we've got a basic version of that in two places, one on the town visitor website and one on Discover Concord. They both have a sort of virtual visit or virtual market, but it's so basic. It's literally just the logo, name of the company, and click through to their site. But it's a beginning, but we could do better.
You have to fancy it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the town has recreation software, which I don't know what other things it can do, but right now I've experimented putting the tours on it and trying to sell them that way. So it can have a shopping, does have a shopping cart for programs and stuff. I don't know how much more it can do, and I don't know, you know, where our licenses are and if we could pivot it to something else, but we own the software. It does have capabilities to be a storefront. So,
Mark?
So Beth, quick question for you. You know, I tend to think that what drives a lot of business is personal relationships and understanding personal stories and sort of getting to know your neighbors, your vendors. Is there any place on the town's website where, you know, maybe there's like almost a rotating, you know, retailer of the week, where it's, you know, just some of the tenants that we have some wonderful stories. You know, they might be first generation business owners. They may be, you know, whatever. That when you talk to them and when you put a face to a name, you want to help them. And I'm just wondering, is there a way we can personally tell that story to connect people? And it could be as simple as referring to a website, so it's just that link, or it could be like, you know, retailer of the week. Literally, like it's a 5-question interview. Like, you know, how long have you worked in Concord? Tell me your background. What's interesting? Why should people shop? Just to sort of get that dialogue, so that, you know, too many times people just rush in, drop off their dry cleaning and leave. Whereas if they ask the question, if they had a virtual cup of coffee, they would really bond with that. You know, so I'm thinking of a number of family-owned businesses that, you know, it would be a shame for them not to do well in Concord.
you know, I think one way we might look at doing that is if we can use the resources of MMTV to do like mini snippets. So I know Erin's been working with them on sort of what she called like a love letter to Concord. So if they can produce those little snippets, those interviews like you guys did at the very beginning, then I think I can run them. I certainly can run them on my social. I probably can run them on the Visit Concord site. I admit WordPress is still new to me, so I don't entirely know its capabilities, but I have a web designer that I keep him on for a couple hours a week, a couple hours a month if I need to make alterations. So I can look at it, but I think the video.
Yeah, minimally. I'll be honest with you. The best way to do that is if the business could produce it themselves, and I mean, you could probably produce it with an iPhone.
Right.
So let me just put something out there, because John made a Herculean effort in the very beginning of the pandemic to create a YouTube channel that any business in Concord could do a quick little video and post up there. And I think 4 people took advantage of it.
Yeah.
So, and also the Concord Journal created a column called Biz Buzz, where again, any company anywhere in Concord could answer, like Mark said, 5 simple questions about who are they, how have they been dealing with the pandemic, and tell us your story. And, we had to kind of drag people kicking and screaming to fill out these simple questions that got them free press.
Yeah, and I had the same problem with my listings. I think
I didn't know about that.
If you offer something, it's on them to take advantage. Whereas if you go to them and say, I'm going to record you at 2:00 on Thursday, it'll take 5 minutes. Yeah. It's a little different,
So, Jennifer, I just wanted to, so we don't have the resources, because especially with town meeting, our MMN, human resources are maxed out. But anyone can submit content that they record for broadcast on the public access, which then goes to the Minuteman Media Network online presence. And so if people could just do a reasonable job with an iPhone telling their story, we can broadcast it on TV if it meets certain parameters, I think. But it's just, we don't have the capacity right now because of all the other meetings we're doing to go into stores and film that. But people can film it and submit it, and we can broadcast it and put it on the line.
I think this is something that Concord Together should take up, and we should come back to this group with a plan. But we're seeing the way the Democratic National Convention is working, right? It's all video. It's like one long infomercial. I think the QVC idea is great. I think we should be having video-based content. We should profile businesses. We should then let you go ahead and buy their stuff right then. And there are all kinds of ways we could do this in the build up to the holiday that could be really cool. And once the content's produced, some people do watch, channel 8 or channel 9. Other people will watch it on Facebook, and we can distribute the content through various channels. So it doesn't have to be just TV or just Facebook. It could be multiple places. And I think that could really get a lot of excitement going, because and I was looking at Ramon here, Ramon's got a great story for his business, right? I think if people understood his story, they're going to go down Walden Street and say, hey, why don't we eat at Fiorella's tonight, right? Or they hear Jen's story and the whole history of her business. They say, we should stop by that place, So I think that the video, it's a great idea, Stephen. The video, we could do a lot with that.
So I think I'll just, sorry, Jane, but just to build on John's point, if we get a few of these done and produced and successfully loaded, then we tell the Boston media that, hey, press release, here's this innovative thing we're doing. And then they carry the story, and then you get a bunch of free advertising.
True. Jane, you had a question.
Kids?
Hang on. Jane had a question. Go ahead.
Hear me now?
You got to lean right into your microphone and yell.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a little better.
Oh, now I can't hear you. This is terrible. CCTV, before you change it, actually videoed a number of businesses in Concord about 3 or 4 years ago. The videos are probably a little bit longer than they should be, but there is a library available to start from. I know that I can't remember all the stores, but I'm pretty sure Deborah's was videoed. I think Vero Farm might have been, but I'm not sure. I know that there were several other stores that were videoed, and it played on the cable TV for about a number of years. So there is something to start from. They need to be edited because they're quite long, but there is a starting.
Oh, great. Could everyone hear Jane? Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. Jen, go ahead. You had a...
Sorry, one thing I just want, sorry.
Real quick, are there kids that need community service hours that are good with video cameras that could help the businesses? Because I'll tell you, the only reason I haven't submitted anything is I don't know how to do. No, I don't know how to do it, and it would be so JV. It would really. Anyway, I don't know if that's an option.
So I think to that point, the one thing I wanted to add is I think a lot of businesses are just so, in the weeds right now, trying to get by. Either A, they don't know about it or how to do it, or they don't know, how to edit it, but also like they're just trying to get by, and it's really daunting. As small as and as simple as it might seem right now, for the businesses to be able to do that is very difficult. So I just wanted to add that just to be aware of it. And if there was a way for us to help with that, like to Beth's point, just say, hey, we're gonna come in, do this, or if there's an online questionnaire or survey, like 5 questions, we can just reply. But it's difficult, for us to be able to go through, not only because we don't have the resources, but we're just so strapped.
Yeah. Hey, John, can you mute yourself, John? Thanks.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's a really good point, Ramon. Okay, I'm gonna kind of wrap things up because we're running a little bit over. I did just want to I see we have one member of the public here, Gail. Did you want to make any comments or ask any questions?
Oh, hi, thanks. No, I really like the idea of the Concord Together thing in the summer, and I've been fortunate to like not have to stay in Concord the whole summer, but I'm looking forward to the fall and being here. So I love the fall for Concord, whatever it is, and I'd love to try to get those schools involved. So I would be I'm cooking, sorry. I'd be like, happy as like a room parent or whatever. I'm in Alcott to try to get, kids and families like more like vested in Concord. I've been shopping at Concord Market and, trying to stay local. So I love everything that you guys are doing, and let's do more of it. And let us know how we can help. I don't know.
Thanks, Gail. That's really helpful. We appreciate that. Okay, guys, we're gonna dig more into this in a couple of weeks in our next meeting. Meanwhile, the Concord Together group does meet every week. It's open to anyone. So any ideas that you glean between now and then, please let us know. We'll put it on the agenda for our next EBC meeting. I will email everybody the logo and the yard sign that we talked about. And yep, if there's nothing else, I think we're gonna probably wrap the meeting up for today. Yeah, Stephen?
I don't want the last word. So I'm glad Susan raised her hand as well. But I just want to say that the information about the donations that were made really took my breath away. And I just want to say to John, you were the first one to talk about your town in Maine that started this idea, that got this ball rolling. And I just want to acknowledge you for pushing all of us to do that, and thank you. And just, you should feel so proud. I am proud on your behalf for the results. So we don't often take enough time to stop and say, wow, that's a really big deal that just happened. And so I just want to do that.
You're kind to say that, Stephen, but I want to assure you that there were a lot of people who actually made it happen. It's one thing to come up with the idea, as you have for QVC, but it's going to take a lot more work to make it actually happen. So, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Susan?
I just wanted to give a brief plug for town meeting. It's going to be very different this year. It's going to be outside on the Doug White Field on September 15th, which is a Sunday at 1 p.m. But there's a lot of information online. There's not going to be video screens at town meeting. There will be a 1-minute limit for speaking to all the things. And the background is already, a lot of it is already up on the town website. Town meetings, but it's going to take a lot more homework for the citizens to be prepared before the meeting.
Thank you, Susan. Cato, I saw you had your hand up earlier. Did you have a comment or a question?
Oh, I just wanted to say most people got back to me on the timing of the meetings. I forgot to mention that earlier. And it seemed for the most part right now, 4 o'clock still works, but maybe when school and things are back going in September, we might reassess the time of the meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, well, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Yes, Jen? Oh, great.
So moved.
I'll put you as a second. How's that? Okay, and then we're gonna go around real quick. Yay or nay? Steve?
Aye.
Jane?
Yay. Nay.
Nay?
We're finished.
Go home. Okay, all right.
Yay.
Mark?
Yes.
Beth?
Aye.
Jen McGonigal? Okay, I see you saying yes. You're muted, but we'll
Aye.
take it. Okay, Cato?
Aye.
Ramon?
Aye.
Okay, John? John, you gotta unmute yourself.
Aye.
All right, and Jan?
Aye.
Okay, another virtual meeting successfully completed. Thanks, everyone,
Thank
very,
you.
very much.
Aye.
All your energy is much appreciated. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.